Some people say entrepreneurs are born with it. Maybe so, but I tend to think there's an entrepreneur in all of us. The difference is the true entrepreneurs are the ones willing to let it out, to grab it like a wild Mustang, jump on its back and ride it. Entrepreneurs are risk takers, record breakers, difference makers. They get up early, stay late, and will everyone around them to be great. Entrepreneurs are the ones that fuel our economy, fuel job growth, fuel innovation, fuel technology, and make the world a better place. My dad's an entrepreneur, so is my grandpa, my great-grandpa, and definitely my great-great-grandpa. And just like them, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur someday too. I don't know what business I'll start yet, but whatever it is, I'll pour my heart, soul, and mind into making it great, just like the entrepreneurs before me. Fueling jobs, fueling the economy, and fueling the world to be a better place. Entrepreneurs fuel everything around us. Thank you, entrepreneurs. Now it's time to fuel them. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand. My dad says entrepreneurs are responsible for everything around me, from the technology I use to the clothes I wear and the food I eat. He says I should be grateful for the entrepreneurs that have come before me, because starting something from nothing is extremely difficult. Many do it against all odds. He says entrepreneurs are the courageous ones, the ones that never give up, never give in, never, never, never. Starting something new takes heart. It takes believing without seeing. My dad says that's faith. He says every organization you see with 10 people, or 100 or 1,000, started with just one. One amazing idea, one brave soul, one perfect partnership, one humble beginning, one heroic mission. And because God inspired the one inspired millions. My dad's an entrepreneur, and someday I'm gonna be an entrepreneur too. And so I pray. Dear Lord, the battles I go through life, I ask for a chance that's fair, a chance to equal my stride, a chance to do or dare. If I should win, let it be by the code, with faith and honor held high. If I should lose, let me stand by the road and cheer as the winners go by. Day by day, get better and better, till I can't be beat, won't be beat. Day by day, get better and better, till I can't be beat, won't be beat. Amen. Marketing 360. Proudly supporting entrepreneurs since 2009. Fuel your brand.
Good morning/afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Brandon Lilly, and we're going to be talking about the art of nurturing leads and closing deals today. So just a couple of quick housekeeping things. If you have questions, and we do encourage them, please go ahead and use the Q&A or the chat feature. We've got Farah Lancer, who's going to be in the chat answering some of those questions, and she's also going to be bubbling those up to us so that our esteemed panel of experts here can answer those for you. First off, quick introduction about me. I am your moderator today. I'm going to be helping to answer these questions and also try to herd this bag of cats around so that we can get some really great content out to you. I've been with Marketing 360 for about 8 years now. I'm the Senior Brand Director and Digital Marketing Specialist, which means that I do just a little bit of everything. In addition to that, I actually own my own small business. My wife and I own a costume shop here in Fort Collins, Colorado, and it's been quite the interesting year. But we're finally starting to see better results, more customers, and hopefully you guys are experiencing the same thing as we kind of move forward as a country. There's the family. All of us have a little bit crazy hair, especially my son there. There's those crazy curls. And they're a big part of why I like to do what I do. You can also find me on our Marketing 360 profiles. I like to do a lot of videos, a lot of content. If you reach out to us on social, 90% of the time, you're going to be talking with me. So if there's questions that we don't get to today, feel free to shout those out and we'll get those questions answered. Just hit me up on social. We're going to be covering a bunch of different things here. This is just kind of a starting point, right? We're going to talk tips and tricks for qualified leads, how to keep your leads engaged, what kind of technology to use, what makes your job a little bit easier, how do you get them from funnel to customer, engaging people, so you're not missing opportunities, and all of this kind of stuff. But in order to do that, we need to have a couple of experts to talk to. So we've got Becky Ross, who is the Director of Marketing Automation here at Marketing 360. She's joined by Andrew Salazar, who is our Chief Sales Officer here at Marketing 360. And we're also joined by Dustin Kenyon, who's the Senior Vice President of Sales at VERB, and Nick Hagen, who's the Chief Revenue Officer also at VERB. So everybody go ahead and unmute, introduce yourself, say hi, say hello.
Ladies, hey, good morning.
We got some really great people here. Nick, give me a little bit of background. Who are you? What you do?
I'm a dad, a small business owner, but my whole life's been around sales. My career, starting back when I was 19, got into software sales, and 22 years later, I'm still doing it. And I'm still alive. I haven't had a heart attack yet. Usually you'd think after a bad quarter, you wouldn't come back, but no, I have a sincere passion for selling and a sincere passion for customers and solving problems, and just love it. I love running teams. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to work for a great company like VERB and have partners like Marketing 360, and really looking forward to this session too, to just kind of break down what that means, driving leads, getting them into the funnel and closing them. So it's how I live every day.
Fantastic. Dustin, how about you, sir?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Thrilled to be here. Also entrepreneur. As I was watching those intro videos, I just felt like it was like my life story. Switch out the images, switch out the videos. My dad was an entrepreneur with his own consulting firm. My mom and her parents, my grandparents, were all in real estate, working for themselves. It's a legacy. It's definitely impacted me. I've had 3 different companies, and I'm here today because of that dream being realized, right? VERB bought my company last year, right? So it's just a thrill to talk about some things that we love and we're passionate about as business owners.
That's fantastic. Andrew, go ahead and say hello.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Andrew Salazar. I'm the Chief Sales Officer, originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I've wandered out to the Rocky Mountains to be a part of Madwire. I have 3 beautiful little girls and a wife, and I've been in sales my entire career as well, in one form or another. Started out really the old-fashioned way of banging out a bunch of calls all day long, and then eventually grew into some leadership positions, and then owned my own business as well for sales and sales leadership training with a big franchise company. So I have a very big passion for leadership, for small businesses, and for sales.
Excellent.
Happy to be here today.
Excellent. Let's wrap this up with Becky Ross.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I am the marketing director here, one of the marketing directors here at Madwire, and my specialty is really in lead nurturing and automation campaigns. And so I am the only salesperson, probably not on this call. I definitely come from a marketing lens, and I've always worked very closely with my sales counterparts. And my focus has always been on how can I help sales teams be more efficient and more effective? And what can I do to kind of help drive people through an education strategy, kind of through that funnel? And how can marketing, specifically with automation, help take some of that legwork off of sales to make their job a little bit easier? And then I will also add that I'm also an entrepreneur. I own a small business as well, and am a client of Marketing 360s also. So I also do email automation and nurturing and kind of the entire sales process for a small business on the side. So I try to kind of use that in order to kind of frame all of the work that we do here at Marketing 360 also. So glad to be here.
Becky and I have a lot of late night conversations about how to better optimize marketing, not just for Marketing 360, but for our own small businesses, utilizing Marketing 360 for everything that we're doing as well. And like I said, we've got Farah Lancer in the chat. Farah, if you want to say hello, just go ahead and make yourself known. If you have questions, please shout them out and we will be sure to get to them if Farah doesn't beat us. So one of the things that we had just mentioned was, Becky, you said, oh, you're really not the salesperson, right? Everyone else here has a background or some kind of experience in sales. Becky, you lean very heavily on the marketing side. Where do you generally see like that line needs to be drawn? Right. We'll see this all the time, the different, marketing and sales, or we're hiring a marketing and sales director, or just it all kind of gets looped together a little bit. So where do you draw the line there between selling a lead and generating a lead?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a tough one, right? I think it is a little bit variable depending upon the specific situations. I believe that might not like this answer, Brandon, but I'm going to say that I think marketing is kind of involved the entire life cycle of a client, from the moment that they originally come in. And of course, it's part of marketing's job to go and, get people to fill out forms on websites and come into our ecosystem. But then I believe that marketing works all the way through the funnel. And then even after you've given that imaginary handoff to sales to say, okay, here's your lead, go run with it, I still think that marketing can help that process along, continue to nurture those leads, provide additional valuable information. And then once someone becomes a client, marketing, then it's our job to get people to cross-sell and upsell and ultimately become raving fans that are going to continue to talk about that product to all of their friends and go out and help continue to drive more referral business back to sales. And welcome to Zoom in a pandemic. Sorry for the screaming children.
I think we've all experienced that at least once and probably far more. Dustin, you were nodding your head along with that. And I'll throw out there, I totally agree. My background has been in marketing for years and years. I enjoy sales. I like sales quite a bit, but marketing has always been my passion. And I agree with you, the touch points. But Dustin, it looks like you've got something to add here. And I really want to hear your perspective.
Yeah, no, I love what Becky, as she expressed that, it is symbiotic throughout the entirety of the process. And I just think to even the title of today's webinar, right? It's the art of the lead to closed won or to customer process. For me, I had a mentor years ago who was really big on the art of selling and the art of marketing. And when you blend them together to Becky's purpose is really this mantra, this little acronym that he taught us, which was the art of selling or the art of marketing is really A, for allocating the best R resources at the most optimal T time. That is the journey, right? So marketers who are phenomenal at what they do, they really understand the best resources at the best time, help with that knowledge transfer to convert people from seeking to purchasing.
And then we've got to take it to that next step, right? So we've got the art side of things, we've got marketing, we're bringing people in and we're passing them over to people like Andrew Salazar. Andrew, talk to me a little bit about that handoff. What's that experience between going from marketing to now you're in a sales funnel? What's your process? What are kind of your tips and tricks for not just taking that and then turning that lead into a customer, right? But transitioning this person from I like to look at it like a prospect to a lead or someone who's interested to a lead, because they kind of have to change where they're at, right? Mentally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll first and foremost, will make the marketing minds happy that once a lead is handed off from marketing to sales, the most important piece is getting in touch with that individual quickly. So, marketing's done an extensive, job with research, et cetera, to get that client to us. Now it's our job to take that lead and turn it into a paying customer. I think the most important thing too to remember is that not every lead is a qualified customer or someone that's going to do business with you. Our job as salespeople is to understand a client's need or a prospect's need and determine if whether or not we can fill that void for them. So, part of the beginning of that process is this lead someone that I can help and mutually beneficial for one another. A lot of times it's not, so we need to get them out of the funnel quickly. But there's a variety of things that take place. Multiple touch points are important. Use of different types of tools to be getting in touch with the client are important. But I think really when that lead is handed off, one of the most important part is giving that great first impression. So having a good email to respond to the client with, showing your face and who you are quickly, especially the technology that's available now. But it's, how can we engage and create rapport quickly with that prospect to make them a qualified prospect and then turn a paying customer. So.
Excellent. Now, Nick, I'm coming to you next, and you've got the fancy title here, the Chief Revenue Officer. So this is a guess on my part, but I'm assuming that you're involved in the process of deciding whether or not the investment into marketing is actually translating into dollars on the sales side, right?
Yeah, you nailed it. Just to maybe disrupt Dustin's word symbiotic, I actually had a CFO that said he appreciated when the CMO and CRO were combative. And I'm like, why would you want them to be combative? And it was interesting because a marketing qualified lead that Becky's really happy about needs to turn into a sales qualified lead that Andrew and I are happy about. And when she's calling me out that we're not qualifying the leads and turning them into revenue, it forces us to get tighter on our process, get tighter on our touches. And when the leads aren't great, forces marketing to kind of tighten up their aperture and really dial in that ICP. So I think there's a good give and take in that relationship for sure, and making sure that you are getting a really good return on investment and reducing your customer acquisition costs. So yeah, you're spot on.
I don't know if everybody saw the immediate PTSD on Becky's face when you said the leads aren't great. I'm sure that's something that every salesperson has said to every marketing person since the beginning of time, right? There's always that complaint of, oh, the leads aren't great. Oh, well, you're not selling them correctly. Well, if they were better leads, we could sell them, right? And there's this whole back and forth there. So let's talk a little bit about the technology that we use to make this process a little bit better or a little bit easier. Becky, let's go ahead and start with you from that marketing perspective. What are some of the different pieces of technology that you like? Maybe not just like the prospecting pieces, like AdWords, Google Ads, or Facebook, or the outbound marketing or PPC marketing. But what are some of the marketing tools that you like to use or see other small businesses use that make the nurturing and the development of these leads a little bit better before we pass them off to sales? And then sales guys, I'm coming to you for your tech questions next.
Perfect. So I am going to step away from my corporate self and I'm going to put on my small business owner hat to answer this question. Since that's really the audience and who we're talking with today. I think that coming from a small business, let me paint a picture and see if this resonates with anyone. Write into the chat if this is something that you've experienced as a small business owner before or not. So our small business, we have 12 employees. Okay, so we're pretty small. And I am one of the co-owners and I say things like, oh yeah, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do advertising and we're going to get leads. And then I work with my dad and I'm going to say, and then dad, they're going to come in and then you can turn them into members. And he goes, great. And he gets out his handy dandy piece of paper. He says, so tell me who I'm calling. And I'm like, whoa, boy, let's slow down a notch. So I think that the reason why I paint this picture is this was one of the first things that kind of jumped out to me when I started the small business is there's a process there that has to be put in place first before you can really go out. It's great to go out and do all this marketing and drive people to your website and have them filling out forms. But then what happens? And so that's where one of the first steps for me was implementing a CRM system in order for us to have a way to do a couple of things. Number one, to not lose people. When everything's stuck in our email and you're emailing something off to your head sales guy and saying, hey, can you call this person? You have no way to follow up. So for me, that was kind of the first big eye opener was there was nothing established and under the hood for once I got people in, what actually happened with those people. So step one is really implementing a CRM and finding a CRM that works for you and your size of business. Lots of different places obviously have amazing systems today, but for me, that was kind of the first step is it's great to get a lead, but what are you going to do with that lead? How are you going to work that lead? So getting a CRM where it's automated, then someone fills out a form on the website, they get an email right away. As we know, if someone's filling out lead forms, they're most likely filling out 3 to 5 different forms on 3 to 5 different businesses. So there is kind of this land grab of who can get there first and who can make that good first impression. So that email automation can be one of those pieces that really helps you out. And then of course, establishing a really good process for, okay, who calls that lead? And then from an automation perspective, I think that having the ability to reach out to people in multiple different ways. So you try an email, you try a phone call, you send a text message, maybe you jump on and you chat them on social media, all of the different ways that we know people like to communicate. You want to be there for them no matter how they want to communicate with you. Nick, I saw you unmute there. So what on that resonated with you?
Well, you nailed it. Andrew said it earlier, it's timing, right? I think if you're going to narrow it down, it really is timing. We had a leak in our basement last week. My wife jumped on the Facebook neighborhood group. A guy jumped in and said, hey, I'm a plumber. I'm writing him a $600 check 2 hours later, right? And it's not just for small business. It goes into enterprise too. Like it's all about timing. We just actually implemented a new system that's 24/7 follow-up and it's text first because we realized that people were coming to our site after hours. They're surfing the web. My guys are in bed, right? But it doesn't matter. That buying impulse is happening then and you need to respond. And so anytime you can really work on timing, I think it's one of the most important things with leads.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of take it the next step, one of the things that I've implemented recently that's made a big difference is we are, and just kind of to answer there, we are all strapped for time, right? So having the ability to reach out. So I actually put in place nothing fancy, but I surveyed each one of my employees and I simply asked, what are the top 10 questions that you get asked from somebody before they become a member? We're a member-based facility, which is why I use the word member there. But I had no idea what questions were actually being asked on the front line. So I took those top 10 questions from each person, did a quick little analysis and found my top 5 questions that were being asked to all the different people at my business. And then I threw together a really quick email automation. So that went out and it allows people to kind of get those top 5 things that I know they're going to want the answer to. And I'm delivering that information now right away in that first follow-up email. So if someone does reach out at midnight, right, I know that they're at least getting access. And then it also gives our salespeople a really nice CTA because they can call and they can follow up. And that's a way for them to already start that conversation. They don't have to start at ground zero. They know most likely these are the 5 things that are going to make it or break it for these leads.
The beautiful thing is that Becky has done this for Marketing 360 as well. A very similar process. So part of our automation is very similar, right? So somebody comes in, fills out a form, and they'll immediately get these emails, and a lot of them are education based, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to, especially for a new business owner or an entrepreneur. They just need their question answered, and if you can be that resource, right? If you can be the resource that's answering those questions, that can help really, really set you apart. Nick, you hit on a topic that I experienced the exact same thing about a year ago. I was selling my house. realized that there were a couple of GFIs that were out. No problem. I'll just go ahead and fix those. That didn't fix them. I know how to swap out an outlet. What's the problem here? And for whatever reason, just could not find an electrician who was able to come out and look at it. So threw up a question on Facebook. Within 5-10 minutes, I had a direct message directly in my Facebook. Hey, I'm an electrician. This guy doesn't have a website. He doesn't have an online presence. He's not running any kind of marketing. But he's got 30 years of experience, just started out on his own. And he's like, I got to get leads wherever I can get leads. And I've probably used him 4, 5, 6 times now, for other things. It was an incredible way to meet somebody who is a professional, is an expert. And then now, because he continues to educate me, I can begin to recognize, I'm going to need to I got to call Kale again, right? I got to call him and bring it back out here because I know I can't do this. All right. So we've talked a little bit about the tech. Andrew, let's talk about technology from your perspective. And Dustin, anybody else, feel free to jump in here. But let's talk a little bit about the technology that we use on a sales side to make things a little bit easier for the people that are really trying to close some deals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll first start just to echo what Becky's talking about on a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, that's the most important piece, because data without it being organized is just data. It's all over the place and it's hard to convert. So CRMs are our best friend and the most important tool, and keeping those organized is important. Determining what your stages are for your sales, etc., so that you can stay organized and you don't lose opportunity. So that's, the most important, in my mind, piece of technology first is, hey, I need a CRM. Once that lead is into the CRM, we use a variety of different mediums. You got to remember, you all are small business owners. Business owners are busy. There is a good chance that when you reach out, even if it's in 2 minutes, that person doesn't answer the phone. They may be in a meeting, they may be in their car. I don't know where they're at, but a phone call doesn't always work. So one thing you have to be prepared to do is meet the prospect where they are. So if phone isn't working, you need to have a tool to be able to text message. We text message a ton. And texting is a good way to engage and let the person know that you're trying to get a hold of them. Introduce yourself. That way, when you do call next time, they know who you are. Email is an obvious one. But when we do use email, I would just stress, keep it simple. Long is hard. People don't have time to read a long email anymore. They want to know how can you help me, right? And that being said, how do you stand out even away from email? We use video email tools to stick out. So put a face with the message. So we have email video tools that we use to keep our clients engaged, etc. So those are really our main tools that we're using to communicate with our clients. We just try to keep it varied. That way we're able to meet the prospect where they're at. So there's a lot of tools out there. It can be overwhelming. So trying to find a solution where somebody can, kind of bring all that information to you is important, because it can be overwhelming. I've been a small business owner before, and I didn't even know that half the stuff existed out there. So find somebody who can help you with that.
Andrew, we do have a question. What are some of the video email tools?
Yeah, there's a few out there. We use one called BombBomb. They're awesome. It's very inexpensive as well, in my mind. So I think that's great. There's other ones out there. One's called Vidyard, I think, is the other one, if I'm not mistaken. But I will say BombBomb we use. It's a great tool, and that's it. And then as far as the other technology, we use Zoom for our phones and our text messaging, which is great. There's tools. You can use Marketing 360. That's a great tool I'll just put a little plug out there for text messaging, email, CRM, etc. But for the video piece, we use BombBomb.
Yeah, BombBomb's been a great tool. They're a lot of fun to work with, and they're a great partner.
Absolutely.
Okay, Dustin, anything to add? I see you're unmuted. It's a great indicator. It's almost like raising your hand, right? Just unmute yourself, and I know who to call on next.
That's exactly right. Yeah, no, I just wanted to follow on to what Andrew was saying. In VERB, we have a video share proponent of our sales enablement tool as well. And whether that's to email or whether that's to text, Andrew's spot on. It is about ensuring or the continuation of your content and video and to be able to consume. It's really hard to just send people if it's always just emails. It takes time to read it, get to the point. Videos are quick to make. So from a small business owner, back to the time juxtaposition, how do I do if I'm wearing multiple hats? It's really easy to just hold my phone, make a video, send a follow-up, and send it off, right? That's quick and easy and high touch. The one thing I just wanted to add to that when we talk about technology is sometimes we get caught, and this is me speaking from being the business owner side. I've spent so many cycles. I don't know how many times I have to continue to learn this lesson, but at the end of the day, technology will help us scale and will help us grow. But the misunderstanding that if we're always just looking for the next best tech won't solve all of our problems, right? We have to do that in a balanced cadence. And one of the things that I found in building out one of my businesses particularly was in time to delivery. So if I have somebody that I'm engaging with, and we're trying to get scheduled, but the time from scheduling to service delivery is elongated because of supply and demand, or we've just got a lot going on. The longer that looks, the less you should be dependent on just tech. And the more you should have some interactions with human beings. So if you're 2 weeks out, leverage the technology in the CRM, understand the scheduling software, and make an outreach. Hey, just wanted to call you, human being, because what happens is from a cancellation perspective, our prospects get busy. And what was really important 2 weeks ago or in that time to schedule, those priorities may shift. And it makes it less or more difficult to abandon the close or the service if there's a human being aspect to that relationship while they wait for service to come.
I can definitely speak to that from as a small business owner myself. The vendors that I have a personal relationship with are the vendors that get the lion's share of my available budget, right? And even if I'm unable to go with them at that moment, there have been, absolutely there have been times where I'm like, I really want to do this. I can't do it yet, but I remember that person. And even just yesterday, I emailed out we're wanting to bring some new product into the store. I emailed a guy that I had talked to well over a year ago and said, hey, I'm sorry, this is my fault. It's been a year, man. Can we bring this back up? He emailed me back within 5 minutes. And I was like, yep, here's my schedule, my Calendly link. Go ahead and grab a time. And he did this. He goes, or I'm free right now. Here's a Zoom link. And just, okay. So I was like, well, I'm already thinking about this. Sure, I've got 5 minutes. Why not? Talk to him. He's closing a deal, because of his ability to respond so quickly. So there's a lot of value there. And I think this can kind of move us into a next question. How do you move your leads from top of funnel, from just that interest base? How do we move them down until they become a customer? What are some of the steps or tips or tricks that you might have here?
I can start.
I saw you on mute. There you go.
Perfect. I can start. I will say the touch points piece is just super important. I'll put that out. In our instance, it takes us 20 touches a lot of times to convert a lead. So you got to remember, to Dustin's point, that the human interaction piece is huge, and that's what we're still fueling off of. So the phone is the most important piece, right? Like that is the most important piece in terms of interaction. We've got to get there somehow. Another piece I was going to add is how can we, when that lead turns in, how can we use technology to work for us? And one other tool I just want to make note of is we use a tool called Calendly for people to book appointments with us, which will also speed it up. That the salesperson's then not having to reach out to book a consultation, et cetera. So utilizing a tool like that's great. They even have a free solution on that. So if you don't have it, get it. They let you use it for free. From there, once we get a lead in, I think you got to be careful. You start with discovery, right? And understanding what businesses we can help. I talked about this earlier. and understanding what solutions we have and if we can help. From there, it's then moving them into how can our solution help them, right? And how can we get, I'll speak to this real quick. Now that with COVID and everything, if you don't have a tool like Zoom, like we're using now to get face-to-face interaction, get it. How can we have conversations that are face-to-face, et cetera, right? So that's another important piece. But after discovery, we're moving them into a strategy call, and then it's follow-up from there to get them to a closed sale. But like I said, the multiple touch points is extremely important to get it from a marketing lead to a closed deal. I also say, if you don't get the sale right away, how are you offering value, right? How can you provide value to someone? Because they don't come a client today doesn't mean that relationship's over. In my mind, it's just no for now. It's not the right time. Maybe down the road we'll meet again. So how can you stay front of mind, which would be your email nurturing, et cetera. But how can you reach out, throughout the year with valuable pieces of information that can impact that business owner for whatever your product can do? That way, when it does come up, like Nick's talked about or Brandon's talked about, you're front of mind and they're reaching out to you because they're ready to buy. So those are just some quick ideas just as far as how we move leads through the funnel. But yeah, I'll leave it open to other ideas as well.
I think you see that a lot with like the oil change coupons, right?
Yeah.
You could send me 8, 9, 10 of these things. I only need one, but when I need it, I need it. And as long as you're the one who sent me the coupon, you're the one who's getting my oil change business. Dustin, I saw that you had unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I think this question is very much dependent on the previous, I can't remember who said it. They tipped their hat to not all leads are created equal. And the quality of lead really drives this conversation around velocity through the funnel. I always like to think of it as there's kind of 3 buckets, right? There's the people that I want to market to, there's the places of where they naturally live their life, and then there's products, meaning more like the tech stack. So as a small business owner, I always try and really understand what is my strategy, meaning what things am I doing on purpose with purpose to build relationships with people, to build legacy in my community, and to design an experience so when they engage with my technologies, my websites, my Calendlies, the experience is flawless. But I share that in that order, in that sequence on purpose, because the highest qualified from people and referrals will always trump. My dad's small business was 31 years without marketing because of a referral-based business. It is phenomenal if you can live there. The truth is not all of us get to live there. And so we go to community, legacy-based. And I know this may sound a little bit cliche, but the truth is there's some tremendous fruits of community-based marketing when you sponsor the local high school team. When you do those type of things, if your motive and your intent is to truly participate through legacy, not, it's another tactic on the marketing scorecard, but when your motives are aligned, those things can be very fruitful. And then obviously the experience of how you stick or align technologies. Those 3 things for me are really paramount of individual considerations of how you get different types of lead through the funnel.
Nick, you look like you've got something to add.
Yeah, it hits home. We had a forecast call this morning, and it was about deals are getting stuck in these stages and why. Right? Because the question was how do you move people through the funnel? And really sales and marketing is 3 things. It's you're building a pipeline, right? You're building new prospects, you're moving those prospects through a funnel, and you're closing them. And if I were to give just some really specific things that I've always felt worked really well is 1, you got to know your customer in the time frame, right? Like if this is the broken pipe at my house, I got a 30-minute window to close this deal. If this is a $50,000 car, I'm going to have to nurture this thing. I'm going to have to work it through if I'm selling used cars. But I think all the principles go back to a couple of things for me. And that's first, educate, right? Like educate them about your service, about the value that you provide. I like motivate, right? Motivate them to do something, give them the discount, give them a promotion, entice them to take an action and actually maybe request a proposal or something like that. Next is translate. How do you translate the value of what you're providing to them? The more you can tell case studies and show these references, but like it's got to be relevant and personal to them and translate it to their situation. and then celebrate, right? If you get the win, not only celebrate internally, but celebrate with your client. You fixed a problem for them, you delivered value, you provided something for them. And I think those things done in a sequence and in a cycle just repeat themselves. And so it's hard, right? How do you educate someone quickly? Well, use automation, but don't forget that personal touch. I think it's such a good balance of make it personal, but use automation, because you don't know when the lead's going to come in. You don't know when their pipe's going to break. You don't know when they're going to want a car. So you got to be responsive. But that's our really key, to really move a deal from a lead down the funnel to where you can close it.
We like to call it renting mind space, or renting space in someone's mind. So that way, when the pipe does burst, you're the first person they call, or when they want that upgrade to the product, or they want the cool thing, the new way to utilize your service or something like that. You've got that top of mind awareness because you're renting that mind space. I think this leads us into another great question. Becky, I'd like to start with you. How do you identify when a customer is engaged? And a lot of this, you'll see from like marketing automation tools and things like that. But then you'll also hear from other people like Andrew Salazar. We're getting people stuck right here, right? They're not moving forward. They're getting stuck. How do you identify that? Maybe if it's it's kind of an unknown. What are our next steps? How do you move people through this nurturing process so that we never really miss an opportunity to make to create a customer?
Absolutely. Happy to take that one on. So the only one thing I wanted to add really quickly to what Nick was talking about, I loved your items there. And this is going to lead into the next question, is one that I would add to that is be reliable, just relentlessly reliable. And I think that comes to your next question, Brandon, is some of you may be at different phases where you're going, I don't know what my sales funnel is. I can't identify what those stages are, right? Some of you may have a very dialed, very detailed 12-step funnel where you know exactly where everybody is. So the first thing that I would recommend is, if you don't have that, draw it out on paper, right? Like, just get started. And a sales funnel, it can be a little intimidating if you've never done it before, especially if you're a small business owner. And so just start, but don't make it overly complex. Maybe there's only 3 stages to your funnel. Maybe there's awareness, where you know who these people are and you've somehow gotten contact information for them. And then maybe there's your nurturing, which is where you're reaching out to them, you're learning about them. It's this discovery process. And then maybe your final one is the active sales process, where you're really trying to truly kind of close that deal. And so start with your funnel, write it out, and then go ahead and write out on there, what are the current things that you're doing in each stage of that funnel? Are you doing any email automations? Are your salespeople texting? Are they calling? What are those different touch points that you're already doing? And then the next piece is look at the current people that are in we call it your pipeline, right? Which is all of the people that are in your ecosystem. Go ahead and do a quick analysis and look for each person and place them in those different funnels. Great if you have a complex CRM or you have a simple CRM where you're actually putting stages to each person. If not, all I want you to do is this initial exercise to kind of get a look at, where are the people, what is my funnel, and where are the current people in my ecosystem living within that funnel? I guarantee if you turn off all your distractions, turn off your phone, and spend 30 minutes doing that activity, you will quickly be able to identify where people are stuck, because you'll have this big bulk of people where you're going, I haven't talked to these people in 6 weeks, right? Or you have a whole group of people where maybe you gave them a quote for one of your services and you never heard from them again. So that's a whole other group of how do we get re-engagement from these people? And the piece where I wanted to just bring in there is that reliability is, you want to be the reliable one to reach out to your leads. I recently went through a software evaluation where I did demos with 12 companies, which was quite a lot. And I knocked 7 off because they never returned my phone call. 7 businesses where I completely just crossed them off the list. And I guarantee you, I will never pick up a phone call from them again, purely because they didn't reach out to me when they said they were going to. So just be the reliable one, whether that's phone calls, emails, personal touches, whatever that is. Make yourself a note where every month you're going to call Bob and just check in and see how he's doing, right? You're going to see if you did decide to move forward with that landscaping project or not. And I really think that if you take some time to do this, you will see where people are stuck. And then step 2 is, okay, what are the strategies and the specific tactics that I can use to re-engage that person? What education can I provide to them? Maybe I'm making a quick video. Maybe I'm writing a quick blog on 5 tips to do X, Y, Z. But then you're going to start reaching out to them again and kind of help move them through that funnel.
So for those of you that even just sketching out the workflow that Becky talked about, even if that feels a little bit intimidating, and sometimes it does, right? I always like to apply a SWOT analysis to the decisions that I'm making. So after you've kind of got something sketched, or you've got this, even if it's not, truly fully in paper, do a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What are the strengths of this content or this email? What are the weaknesses of it? And be brutally honest, or ask your significant other, hey, what are the weaknesses here? They'll point them out for you. What are my opportunities? What could I be doing better if I had more money, had more time, had more resources, had more education, had more help? And then what are my threats? Sometimes the threats are competitors. Sometimes it's just time. Sometimes it's not having the technology, things like that. So I've actually thrown a video in the chat here on how to do a SWOT analysis. I found it to be incredibly useful. And Becky, that information is fantastic. I do want to approach how does this funnel work for like an e-com brand? For, we're not selling a service, we're selling products, and it's all online. So how does something like that work for e-com?
One thing to look at, go ahead. No, I think, and Becky, I just wanted to say something. You really hit something home on being reliable and follow up. I had a friend who's a contractor, and I don't think there's a state in the country that's not experiencing like incredible like real estate growth and landscaping and building. And it was interesting for me when he said that he gets all these leads that they don't even follow up on, they can't. And I think one thing to take away from your comment, I think, is know your capacity too, right? And there's a really easy exercise, and this kind of ties into Brandon's question, is understand what your capacity is, right? That could be, how many products do you have in inventory? How many people can you fit in your gym? My wife owns a gym, and she did this exercise with me. I can put 20 people in the gym. It's a CrossFit gym at once. How many people come to the website that then sign up? And you work backwards. So, okay, if I can fit this many people in here at a time, how many people do I need to come to the website to convert to a lead? And it's pretty simple math, but what you don't want to do is what my buddy did, is go pay to drive all this lead that he can't do anything with, because it hurts your brand, it hurts your reputation. But I think understanding your capacity is key, and start from the bottom up or top down. Top being, how many people come to my e-com website? How many people click on a product? How many of those people actually buy? And Google Analytics, and there's free tools that should do this for all your website. I mean, this is the core of what Marketing 360 does, right? But understand what you can output, how many products you have, how many people that can actually be working at a time. So I think that was just really key for me. And it's happening more and more. It happened to me last week. Guy didn't call me back, and I get mad. Like I go from like needing something to being like kind of pissed off. And so it can hurt your brand and reputation if you aren't able to actually meet the demand that you drive. So it's actually the other end of the problem, but it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that great to do those numbers, right? And you said it's like you said, it's not that hard, but I often find as a small business owner, these are things where I know I need to do it, but actually doing it sometimes can be really hard. So if you have someone that just sitting down, and I think sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, right? Like, how do I even find those numbers? How do I figure it out? And to your point, start at the very end, right? If you have a service-based business, how many people can you service per day, per week, per month? Okay, what's your entire year look like? Are there seasonalities you need to take into consideration? And start there, and then just work your way backwards in order to get to, how many people do I need to fill out a form on my website this year, this month, this week, right? And then you can kind of reverse engineer it, and that really helps, especially from the marketing side, because you're right, you don't want to be going out and spending a bunch of dollars to drive leads if you, at the end of the day, can't actually do anything with those leads, right? Brandon, your quick question on e-com, and Nick spoke to it great, but I think with e-com, your funnel does look a little bit different, right? Your e-com funnel is going to start with, at the very high level, people that are viewing your ads or that are viewing your business in some way out on the internet. The second one is going to be website traffic. So people that actually come and go to your physical website, and that's kind of that next group. From there, then people that engage with you on your website in some way. And then once they've engaged, then you're talking about traditional e-com things like cart abandonment, getting people to actually make that first purchase. And then after they make that first purchase, then you're going there to how do you get repeat purchase and upsells and increase kind of the velocity of which they purchase and then how much they purchase. So it's great to have a system where you can track all of that in one place. So I will shamelessly plug Marketing 360 right now, that it is great to have one place where you can kind of view all of those different steps that someone might take. And then the next one is just once you look at those areas, a area is going to be retargeting people that came to your website and didn't complete anything that first time. So that's where you want to be looking at different ways to retarget that audience and keep your brand top of mind as they go back out into the rest of the internet. So Facebook retargeting, display retargeting, anything like that is going to be a great place to kind of start looking at that funnel.
Well, you are just handily leading me into these next questions. Analyzing lead behavior and just utilizing your analytics so that you can get better. Right. The old joke is, I know half my marketing is working, I just don't know which half. You're leading directly into that. Before we jump into that question, Andrew, I think this is a good question for you from Harris. Facebook leads are a real challenge. I've got 70 leads in the last 10 days. Very few answer their phone or respond to an email. It's hard to determine who's even worth pursuing. And in this situation, it's the insurance industry. I feel like we've heard this, we hear this a lot, right? At least in my perspective, as someone who does a lot of Facebook advertising, a lot of it has to do with timeliness. Now, but I'd like to hear from you. If you've got any thoughts or suggestions, then we'll open it up to everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll touch on this. We get people coming to us all the time that say, I want more Facebook leads, right? That's what they come to us for. That's what they think they need or what they want. I would say that people try Facebook leads on their own all the time with no success. So finding an expert or a company that can help you execute against that strategy, and one, make sure it's the right strategy for your vertical. That's important too. But I'd also just say that Facebook's only one piece of it. I think there's other items that go along with it, making sure that your content's right, making sure that you're catering, that you're catering to the right ICP, right persona, et cetera. You want to have other mediums as well along with Facebook. It could be Google, et cetera. But that's just one piece, but you got to make sure that you're optimized. You got to make sure that the ads are acting the right way, et cetera. And then a lot of times that traffic from your social will actually move into organic traffic into your site. So that's just one piece. So then when they get to your site, what does your site look like? What does your brand look like, et cetera? How can we move them to a call to action? So I would say, I think it was Harris, is that right, Brandon?
Yep.
I would say, Harris, if you're doing them on your own, look at having somebody help you, one. And then two, realize that that's just one aspect of marketing that you want to conquer. You may be doing other things, but then when that lead's coming in, how do you nurture that lead to get to the qualified people? But you're going to have to sort through those Facebook leads. We do Facebook leads as well. They're not bad. It's just some of them take more touch points. We know that. But I will say too, that is part of a funnel. So are there other mediums that you can look at doing alongside Facebook to get better conversion? And Brandon, you may want to add something to that.
Yeah, I will say, as one of the individuals who's in charge of all the Facebook ads for Marketing 360, I work with our chief marketing officer on that, and I run Facebook ads on my own, and I've been doing Facebook ads since they were launched. One of the things that I have found is that they're too easy for the user. right? We see the same thing on LinkedIn. YouTube has their lead form cards. They're doing the same thing. It's all too easy. So you just click it and you move on. One of the greatest pro tips that I have found is add a little bit of friction to your process. Add a custom question that they now have to type in and answer. That may reduce the amount of leads, but you've got 70 in the past 10 days and haven't been able to really contact many of them. If you can reduce that to 40 and you can contact half of them, that's worth so much more because you've already been able to get rid of a lot of the legwork and reduce your costs, right? You've reduced your cost per lead as well. So adding a little bit of friction to the process is not always a bad idea. It helps to make sure that you've got more qualified leads. On the other side, if you make it too difficult, for someone to fill out a form because you want their name, their phone number, their address, their firstborn child, the last four of their social, the county they live in, all this kind of stuff, you're just making it that much more difficult for somebody to actually reach out and connect with you. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, can I just add one thing to that?
If I may. Go ahead.
All right, Dustin and then Nick. And then we're going to give the 4-minute warning here before we're going to start closing things down. So if anybody has any other questions, please throw them in the chat and we will get to them as fast as we can.
Yeah, I was just going to add really quick, one very simple metric that helps a ton in evaluating the velocity of your different marketing spend channels. And it's super simple and it applies for both traditional services or e-commerce, but to just have a true understanding of dollar per day. So when you close a deal, whatever that is, you gained X dollars for how many days did it come through your funnel? And then you can start to evaluate of all of your funnels, both technical or face-to-face, whatever that is. That's when, back to Becky's point, when you stall, when you get in a stage and you're like, where's my abandon rate through technology, or where are people no longer responding via email? Then you can sit there and go, okay, I understand, should I deploy more time and effort here, or should I automate it? Because if I'm already past the tipping point of my dollar per day ratio, I know that it's just gonna be a time suck and it's not going to bring me the fruits that I know other channels would bring me. So it's really just being disciplined and understanding that not all leads should carry the same amount of personalized follow-up. That's where automation really comes in.
You're talking about the digitized version of profit per square foot. Everything that a retail store or retail organization looks at, what's my profit per square foot? This is your profit per day. I love that. Nick, you had something to add.
Yeah, I think last tip, because we did this, we were getting a lot of leads on LinkedIn. We're also doing some in Facebook. Lean forward on texting, right? It's a safe assumption that those phone numbers that they put in on Facebook or LinkedIn are tied to their cell, they're tied to their personal email. Lean forward on texting. 98% of texts get opened, right? I've been called 3 times since I was on this from webinars. I'm not answering any of those because I didn't know who they were, right? So I think for Harris, don't take it as they're not interested, right? But try to meet them where they're meeting you, which is on social. Send them a DM on LinkedIn, send them a DM on Facebook, because it's going to pop up. It's going to send them a notification. Use that to your advantage a lot. We've seen a great increase in that. We've developed a whole text platform just for that. So I think you can convert higher rates with that.
Excellent. So there's a couple other quick questions we'll get to. One is retargeting limitations in California on Google for law firms, things like that. Alternate suggestions for how to retarget people who click on an ad, come to the site, or don't convert. There are always going to be states and industries that have that for privacy reasons or things like that. Healthcare is one of them. You can't do a lot of retargeting on healthcare due to privacy reasons. Obviously in California, in Texas, they've got some as well. What are some pro tips that you guys have for maybe retargeting or reaching out to customers in a non-traditional manner? Maybe we can't reach them on this type of platform. Retargeting is the example. What other solutions do we have?
I'll go really quick on this one. This is where, as the business owner, you have to just accept the fact that your own knowledge and skills may not be sufficient. So this is where you do your research, you spend a little bit of time, and you partner with those that know how to do that exceptionally well. So, and I'm going to be vulnerable here. That was never my sweet spot on the e-commerce retargeting side, but we hired the right players at the right time, especially when you get into legalities. right? Well, because there's laws or there's true market-based constraints. Find the folks that do that and get there quick. It may be something that's a stretch on budget for now, but if it really does help with the fluidity of those leads and getting them through funnel, those partnerships and those type of decisions will bear fruits.
I love it. That's an absolutely perfect way to wrap that up, Dustin. Sometimes you just need an expert, right? You might know, you don't know what you don't know, so you got to know the person that does. We're going to stick around for another couple of minutes just to ensure that we are able to answer as many questions as we can. For those of you that need to jump off, thank you so much for joining us. Nick, Becky, Dustin, Andrew, thank you guys so much for being here. Farah, as always, for answering questions in the chat and sometimes beating me to them. I appreciate you. For those of you that need to head out, thank you very much for joining us. You can always learn a little bit more. We'll be sending this information out in email, and we'll also be posting this video on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/marketing360, a little later this week. Stick around. We got another couple of questions to answer here, unless you need to head out, in which case, thank you so much and happy marketing. Okay, so a couple other questions that have come in here. How do I encourage my Facebook leads to place their orders online? Now, I'm assuming that this question is more along the lines of maybe this is like a complex e-com order, and if you're still in here, please respond in chat. Complicated e-com, you want them to make the order instead of calling in maybe to a customer service rep or going into a location. But while we're waiting on this, what are some ways that you have found to kind of redirect your lead into doing what you want them to do, right, instead of going another route? Ooh, we've got a stumper. We've got a stump question.
I can jump in there. I was waiting.
There we go, Becky. All right.
I think it goes back to what you were talking about a little bit more, Brandon, and I'm sure you own an e-com store too. So you might, if this is the e-com, I might actually flip the script here and I might be the moderator and ask you some questions. But I think for me, this is the same with any funnel, regardless of that, is you need to think through that path and put yourself in your own customer's shoes. So very rarely do we actually walk the path of our clients or our customers, right? So go through that path and make it the path of least resistance. How can you make it as easy as possible for them to jump? And specifically from Facebook ads, Facebook has so many different options on the different types of lead forms that you can set up. And so one of them can be simply driving to a specific landing page. But there, really dive into that experience. Are you driving them from the Facebook ad to your homepage? Are you driving them to a specific product page or a subcategory page? Look at the different options of where can you drive them that's going to instantly provide them with exactly what they were looking for. So with Facebook also, right, the carousel ads where there's 5 or 6 different different products or different images that they can scroll through right on Facebook. Really thinking through which products do you want to be displaying there, look at your metrics, see what's your top sellers, and then make sure that each one of those, when you click, drives to that really customized experience specifically for that product. Oftentimes we find our clients are driving people just to their homepage, and people get there and then they have that really quick bounce rate because they're lost. They don't know what to do. So really just make it as easy, as simple as for them as possible, and kind of paint that path for them to make it hard for them to go anywhere else. Make them go exactly where you want them.
This is the opposite of where we talked about a little earlier of adding some friction to the process,
Yes.
right? I've always found add a little bit of friction when it comes to filling out a lead form. Remove as much friction as possible when it comes to giving somebody your credit card. Right? That's the goal. Make it a little tougher on the lead, make it super easy on the sale. So the easier you can make that, definitely the more valuable it is. We do have another question talking about customer avatars and essentially identifying who your best customer is. The question, part of it was directed towards Marketing 360. One of the things that we do is we've defined our kind of best customers as what we call a 3-3. 3 years in business with 3 employees. Now, partially that's because we're in the industry of small business, which has the largest failure rate of any kind of industry or organization that you could possibly work with, right? So small businesses fail at an astronomical rate. Now, we will absolutely work with anybody because we truly believe that our platform is the next level, next step for anybody that wants to grow their business. As both an employee and as a client, I firmly believe that. But we found that from a business perspective, that 3-3 is best for us because it's shown you've already gotten past some of these hurdles, and there's a next level of responsibility that comes as a business owner when you have employees, right? And the employee is not your brother, it's not your spouse or something like that. There's a next level when you're responsible for somebody else's family and well-being. So for us, from a business orientation, when we're identifying an avatar or kind of our best target, we look for 3-3 first, and then we'll narrow that down by vertical or industry, sometimes even by state, things like that. We also have, data since we launched in 2000 in late 2000s. So we have this kind of information over years and years and years of experience of doing it, and people like Becky diving in and doing deep dives on the personality of our clients and things like that. So Nick, you're unmuted. What kind of additives do you have there? Well, who do you look for in your best customer, and how do you identify that?
It's interesting. At VERB, we really provide services for 4 different personas and demographics, and it's so important to really understand every aspect of your client, right? And it's hard not knowing the genesis of the question and who the market is, but no detail is too much detail, right? And I think I always use the fly fishing analogy where I can go to a river. I don't know if there's a fish in there, but through the process of elimination, by trying a different fly, trying a different depth of water, trying a different part of the river, mixing up the flies, we'll identify it to where every other cast, I'm catching a fish, but it might have started out with 100 casts. So I think trust the data and don't be afraid to like dig into the very fine-tuned details of the persona, their buying preference, where they go to buy, and really dialing that in. I can't say how important that is. And we're still learning ourselves, right? It's every day you get a little bit smarter about it.
Every day the market changes. There's a new advertising channel. There's a new way influencers was not really a thing a couple of years ago. And now for a lot of industries, it's huge. So it changes all the time.
It really does.
Okay, last call for questions. If you guys have any other questions, please throw them in the chat. Anybody else have anything to add here to any of the questions that we've gotten, or anything that's just weighing on you to really get out there?
I was just going to add 2 seconds worth of the last conversation. I would just say the ideal customer is also the one that allows you to achieve the goals of why you went into business in the first place. And it's from a personal why, mental health, all of the things. Lots of customers doesn't always equivalate why I wanted to do this. So it really is making sure that you understand the service, the product, the value fuels the dream, fuels all of the personal wants in life. And if the customer profile and the business isn't adding up to those things, then it's okay to reevaluate what you offer and to whom.
Boy, Dustin just absolutely killing it on the why you go in business. And I think that's important. You can't forget it. As soon as you forget why you went in business, and as soon as you forget why you're trying to serve these customers, you really just start to lose that. Looks like we've got our last question here from Agnes. How do you find an influencer on a low budget? Who wants to tackle this one?
Yeah, I can answer that. You find
Get it, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a variety of different companies out there that offer influencers. There's even apps, and I'm trying to think of the one that's on top of my tip of my tongue. Brandon, maybe you can help me, or Becky. It starts with a T. There are tons of companies out there online. You can find influencers. Marketing 360, we have influencers that we use. So if you can find marketing companies, there are people that can help you, that have a bigger footprint to help you with your smaller business to be able to get influencers into your business. So look for those types of opportunities. Hopefully that helps. But there's apps out there. There's a variety of different companies. You just Google them. They come in at a pretty decent cost, but the marketing companies can help you with that as well.
I think use your own customers. An influencer doesn't always mean 1 million people, right? An influencer could be someone who moderates your neighborhood Facebook page. Like, I've been blown away by how my wife watches our neighborhood Facebook page and is constantly selling people stuff or helping people find a service. And so don't always think that the influencer's the 1 million followers. The influencer can be an existing customer that you already have that has 5,000 friends. Like that's more sales than you could probably ever do in a month. So don't overthink it. I think those top end influencers are extremely hard to get to. They're expensive when you could have influencers in your client base right now. Profile their social pages, and they might be your best, marketing spend ever, right? Send them a nice thank you and post something on your Facebook.
That's one of the things that we do for my company is I find people that are our customers or are using products that that they could also purchase from us, and I'll share their photos. We work with a lot of cosplayers and costumers, and drag queens and just people all over the place. So we communicate with them. Hey, love what you did so much. We really appreciate that. We would love to send you some free product. Can we share your image? Can we share this picture? And the response that we get is incredible, because at that point now they have a vested interest, not even financial. They just love you. Yeah. And so they were already a good customer. Now they become a great customer, and they start to tell all their their friends about it. And you can slowly turn that into something that's maybe a little bit more not scheduled as rigid, where you've got some structure in place, and you say, okay, here's a coupon code, give these out to your friends, and you get a kickback on this. So I like the idea of kind of building it organically. I'm never going to be able to reach out to the top makeup artists or the top cosplayers in the world, because that's just incredibly expensive for my small business. But by turning a customer into an influencer, that's an incredible way to do that. Perfect. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Nick, Becky, Dustin, Andrew, and Farah, thank you again so much. Nick, give me a 1-minute sales pitch on VERB. I want to know a little bit more about the platform before we get out of here.
Oh man, so we just fuel entrepreneurs. We build custom apps so you can go online and actually sign up for $9.95, put your logo, your brand, your content into a mobile app so you can differentiate your sales experience. So you can take that lead from the website, nurture them, close them, and put them back through the cycle. But we're so happy to be a part of this and partnered with Marketing 360, and hopefully you guys have a chance to take a look at the technology.
Excellent. Highly recommended. Check VERB out. And then Andrew, go ahead and close this out. Talk to me a little bit about Marketing 360 like I don't even already know.
Absolutely. Yeah, our overall mission at Marketing 360 is to help small businesses grow. So everything that we do gears around that. So when I say that, we have solutions from a technology perspective to help small businesses grow. So if you want to do the marketing on your own and you just need tools to be able to do it, like email, SMS, CRM, nurturing of any type, your ads, etc., we have that technology to be able to utilize. And then on the other side of it, we have the team to go along with it. So if you're just saying, hey, I need help, I just need somebody to do this for me, I don't have time, I don't even care, just get me more business. We have a team to go and execute against all those items for you. So 2 different ways for us to come and help you. If you're interested, go to our website, marketing360.com. Fill out a form. You actually will get access to our platform for free, so you can check it out. We actually have a free CRM up to 2,500 contacts. So utilize that tool. And if you do fill out a form, you will get a call from somebody to help you out. But we would love to help. So look forward to helping you.
All right. Thank you guys again. Nick, Becky, Dustin, Andrew, and Farah, thank you for joining us so much. It's always a pleasure to connect with all of you and to get to talk about things that we love. For those of you that were joining us today, I know we went a little bit over, but I really appreciate you hanging around. Excellent questions, and I love seeing people helping each other out in the chat. If you've got any other questions, please feel free to hit us up on our own unique social profiles. We're all happy to connect with you and answer additional questions there. Otherwise, we'll be sending out an email that has a link to this video and posting this on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/marketing360. Thank you again for joining us. Happy marketing.